It's almost 50 years since Sir Robin Knox-Johnston completed his pioneering, non-stop solo circumnavigation of the world.
Day 312, about 25 past 3 on April the 22nd, and Robin Knox-Johnston and Sue Haley have sailed non-stop around the world.
Nearly 3 decades later, the Clipper race was born. Sir Robin's concept was clear: sailing the world's toughest oceans in a circumnavigation around the planet. But not for an elite few. These would be everyday people with a thirst for adventure.
You know, life is for that, to take risks, to follow your dreams.
Now in the 11th edition of the biennial race, 700 participants from all walks of life, representing over 40 nationalities, will take on the challenge of dealing with whatever Mother Nature has in store. Battling the elements out on the world's greatest oceans, they will experience some of the toughest conditions imaginable, from hurricane-force winds to squalls that can knock a boat flat, from stifling heat to sub-zero conditions and the danger of possible injury.
If you could imagine taking a cheese wire and almost cutting down that line.
They must learn to live with strangers, sailing 24 hours a day for weeks on end, all within the confines of a 70-foot yacht in the middle of the ocean. 40,000 miles, 13 races, 12 identical yachts, 6 continents, 1 unique challenge. This is the race of their lives. Coming up, the Clipper Race fleet takes on the Asia-Pacific leg, split across 2 stages with spectacular destinations in China. Crews celebrate Chinese New Year at sea and swelter in the baking tropical heat. There's a second visit by King Neptune as father and son cross the equator, and loved ones missed on Valentine's Day. The Clipper Race is a global series of 13 races between 6 continents over 11 months. Starting in England, the first race is a downward roller coaster to Punta del Este, Uruguay. Race 2 takes on the South Atlantic to South Africa, and then it's the infamous Southern Ocean sleigh ride. The Australia leg is split into 3 from Fremantle, including the iconic Sydney-Hobart race, ending in Airlie Beach before heading to the city of Sanya in China for the first time. Then it's north to a wintry Qingdao, before crossing the mighty Pacific Ocean to Seattle. The US coast-to-coast leg is 2 races via the Panama Canal up to New York. The final race leg sees the fleet cross the Atlantic Ocean to Northern Ireland, then the last race back to Liverpool. Having left Liverpool, England 5 months ago, the fleet headed to Uruguay. Then through the South Atlantic to Cape Town, before the infamous Southern Ocean and one of the toughest crossings in the 20-year history of the race. An all-Australian adventure followed, which included the Blue Ribbon Sydney-Hobart race, before reaching the picturesque Whitsunday Islands. After a testing race north from Tasmania, the crews are ready for some rest and relaxation in this Australian paradise. Some took the chance to go diving or snorkeling in the warm waters to see the Great Barrier Reef.
We've been on a fantastic tourism day out to Hardy Reef in the outer Great Barrier Reef. It's been pretty incredible. We did a little semi-submersible tour and then we've been snorkeling all afternoon.
Meanwhile, the work must go on, and the Clipper Race maintenance team is in action, helped by many crew, with an extensive list of work that needs completing to keep their yachts in top form. On the race from Hobart, the Qingdao crew had a terrifying experience when they were hit by a major electrical storm in a southerly buster, and their mast was hit by lightning.
Imagine a whip cracking, but 50 million times louder, and everywhere, all around you, in your head, out your head, just everywhere.
Lightning strikes, they can vary. You kind of got to go into a job like that with an open mind. You never know what you're going to really expect. So I went up to the top and had a good poke around up there, and it turned out that all the electronics up the mast had been wiped out. Obviously, it's such a huge amount of power that lightning's just trying to get through the boat into the water as quick as it possibly can. So unfortunately, it wiped out everything up the rig and quite a few key electronic and electrical systems on board with it.
Mostly it's board failure on some of the systems, so the wiring is all intact, but we've got some quite sensitive electronic equipment. The alarm panel was damaged, the gas alarms were damaged, the PC monitor was broken, and the fleet broadband, which is their main telephone and also email system, was out of action.
It's essential that every yacht is ready for the coming race, as it's a long one, heading north over 4,000 nautical miles to China. Race 7, the Forever Tropical Paradise Race. We'll see the teams head up around Papua New Guinea, through the allocated doldrums corridor, cross the equator, then on past the Philippines before reaching Sanya in South China. First though, a final opportunity to enjoy Australian hospitality at Whitehaven Beach, a truly exotic location.
It's absolutely superb. I mean, it's what you would imagine of a tropical beach. It's white sands, azure blue seas. It is just stunning.
Best day so far. The last 25.
And then there's been the first ever Whitsundays Clipper Race Carnival to celebrate the visit of the 11 teams who have enjoyed a fabulous time here. Now though, it's time to depart this paradise and head back to ocean racing.
I think we're prepared. It was here in Early Beach a nice break, but now I'm looking forward to get onto the water again. We have a big crew with new leggers. I'm really looking forward to sail with them. I hope that it's going to be an exciting race, both to Sanya and then to Qingdao as well. Yeah, we see where we end up.
There's a huge send-off after a wonderful 2 weeks in Early Beach, with the crews sad to be leaving, but excited to head back to sea. After motoring clear of the Great Barrier Reef, the 11 teams line up ready for a Le Mans-style race start. After a 10-minute countdown, the sails are hoisted and the race is on. They must race in a straight line for the first 10 minutes, but cannot use spinnakers for safety reasons until the fleet splits. There is a big swell, but the merest of breeze, making control of the yacht difficult. The crew trim sails constantly, trying to maximize every advantage. The wind is light, and so great skill is required to keep air in the sails. But once the large and lightweight windseeker spinnakers break out, speed soon picks up across the Clipper race fleet. Each team can now ease into this long race. So it's light wind start, and the heat is already building below decks. Coming up, King Neptune arrives to challenge novice equator crossing crew. We meet a circumnavigator whose life has been changed with the Clipper race. And there are Valentine's Day messages for loved ones.
Hi, honey, David. From the South China Sea. Mwah.
The Clipper Round the World Yacht Race is a 40,000-mile adventure for amateur sailors over 11 months. The 11 teams have left Australia's west coast and begun the Forever Tropical Paradise Race, which is expected to take over 3 weeks to reach Sanya in China. After a light wind race start, the breeze has proven fickle, often leaving yachts marooned with barely a ripple on the vast sea. They attract a variety of inquisitive dolphins, turtles and whales checking out the becalmed visitors. With little moving air, the heat is becoming unbearable and any shade is welcome. Dusk brings relief and the sunsets are spectacular. But today marks the beginning of an extra special night. Clear skies make the perfect setting to experience a full lunar eclipse. A rare sight anywhere in the world, and the Clipper race crews can enjoy the incredible experience with the best seats possible. For one of the Chinese crew on the Qingdao yacht, this is the second time she has joined the race, having completed a leg in the 2015-16 edition.
For me, it's a very extraordinary experience to sail with this boat. And especially now I'm doing my second race, it's just like to have a second chance to review what you haven't learned that much in leg 3. The Clipper race gives me a very good opportunity to get out of my comfort zone and to meet people, to learn new things, and to find my real passion. And now I'm still on my sailing gap year, and I'm quite sure that even after the race, I will still keep on sailing. I know sailing is something that I would really love to learn more. Everything about sailing, it's just so fascinating for me.
By the 6th day of racing, tropical storms are on the horizon in the heat, meaning rain and lots of wind in the frequent squalls, requiring lots of sail changes. Aboard the Qingdao yacht, they're in the midst of it and powering through, with life back at 45 degrees. The further north the teams race, the lighter the wind will become as they reach the dreaded doldrums. The race committee has created a special corridor to help the teams through the fickle conditions.
So doldrums, they're quite famous for light winds around the equator. A couple of races, the whole fleet got stuck in absolute no wind for a day or two. And to avoid that, the Clipper Race Office introduced a doldrums corridor, which allows us to motor through those patches of really light wind. We're allowed to start the engine. We can then motor for 4 degrees of latitude, but it has to take us at least 36 hours, which means that should be an average of 6.6 knots. So if we think we can sail faster than 6.6 knots, then we shouldn't start the engine. If we think we're going to slow down more than that, then it's well worth starting the engine.
And skipper Wendy on Sanya's Serenity Coast and her crew decide to motor at the first opportunity, switching their engine on in line with the race instructions. Many crews now follow given the light winds forecast. But there's no respite from the sudden squalls of torrential rain. The Qingdao crew take the opportunity of a fresh water shower to cool down from the intense heat. Now an experienced ocean racer, one of the Qingdao crew is returning for the complete circumnavigation after taking part 4 years earlier.
Before doing the training, I would say that I lacked confidence. My self-confidence had been eroded. I think other people are like this. There's a lot of people who join Clipper who are looking for things, and I was looking basically for an adventure to find out what I could do. My life had hit the buffers. I had a son who died, a disabled son, absolutely star individual. Harry was a lovely lad. I was pretty down, come out of a relationship which had actually eroded my self-confidence. And my family had fallen to pieces, and I needed something. And this seemed to me to be the challenge that I needed to do. So there I was. I signed up. I did legs 7 and 8, and I loved every moment of it. And when I got to the end, because we sailed into London, I felt I'd only had half an adventure. I really, really wanted to do more. I went to watch the 15-16 race leave from London, and as the boats sailed off down the Thames, I thought, oh! My heart just went out to the boats, and I just knew that I had to do this race. So the very next day, I signed up to go around the world. I really, really wanted to be able to say, at the end of it, you know, I did it. I tried my best. I dug deep, and here I am. I did it. I think Clipper's given me that self-confidence back, actually, that I've done things that I would never, ever have anticipated I could do. I've helmed the boat. 20 people have had their lives in my hands, so to speak. It gives you that confidence to know that you can do it. I can do it. I can sail around the world. You know, I can do anything, is the strength that doing a race gives you.
There's been an injury to one of the crew after slipping on deck. The team medic applies a few stitches with great skill. And the casualty is soon patched up and moving again. As the wind begins to gradually return, the teams reach the end of the doldrums corridor. They leave the Solomon Islands behind them and head towards the equator. It's the second time in this edition of the Clipper race that they'll cross 0 degrees of latitude, but this time heading north after nearly 5 months in the southern hemisphere. For many of the crew crossing for the first time, it's a milestone marked with an ancient maritime tradition.
So when we cross the equator, soon afterwards we'll have an equator crossing ceremony. And everyone who hasn't crossed the equator yet is polywog. And then after we cross the equator and atone our sins to King Neptune, we will then become shellbacks, which is the term for the people that have crossed the equator and atoned to King Neptune of their sins.
Aboard Sanya Serenity Coast, on board media reporter Ming from China is elected to be King Neptune in their ceremony.
Today we're gonna pass the equator, and tomorrow Wendy, our skipper, and has some plan, and I probably will join her plan to participate as the King Neptune to give our lovely crew a surprise. I'm thinking probably I will represent the King Neptune and our South China Sea Dragon King and the Mazu and the females, the god of the sea, at the same time to give us a celebration. I will be very serious to them. I will give them enough punishment, let them remember for their whole life how difficult, how tough the condition of the equator is.
You come to see, all polywogs you be, but crimes they commit, so a punishment you will see. You must be blessed from the magical water, from the mystical equator first. You must abide to live by the oceans. Come forth, you miserable polywog. How do you bleed?
Okay, you.
Oh! Hey! Back to your cry. How do you bleed? Yay!
Despite the return of the wind for Sanya Serenity Coast, not all of the teams are enjoying the same conditions, with the fleet spread over hundreds of miles. On the Qingdao yacht, the heat is testing everyone both physically and mentally as they wait to get moving again.
The hard bit is just the weather. The humidity and the heat is just intolerable. Trying to get any sort of rest in a boat which is roasting is just impossible.
It's hot across the fleet, but aboard the Chinese entry, Sanya Serenity Coast, racing towards their home port, a father and son duo on the team are enjoying every minute of the adventure, despite the heat. Father Benoit is circumnavigating the globe, while his son Victor joined him just for these 2 races to China.
Yeah, we talked ever since we were really young about doing an ocean crossing together. And well, now we're finally getting to do it. So it's really cool. It's taken years, but we're finally here. Yeah. We're also sharing a bunk, so.
Yeah. We are on different watch, so we share the same bunk.
Well, we see each other and you know, at watch changeover during meeting time. Dad was mother the other day, so he got to serve me food and make me coffee. And now today's my turn to be mother, so I'll be doing the same for him.
He's my mother. Yeah. Anything we do together is very meaningful, especially when it's about sailing. We have been doing sailing, for Victor's lifelong and a bit more for me, but this is kind of a unique thing.
And it's a cool thing to cross an equator. So we were all very proud of it, and it was great to do it with Dad as well. I really enjoyed it.
We do that together. It's just awesome. Yes.
Yep.
In this adventure, the crews often form lifelong bonds as they come together like a family. But there are special times when life at sea, away from home, becomes more poignant than others. Valentine's Day is one of them. A special camera is set up in the only private space on the yacht.
Hi, sweetie. Happy Valentine's Day. I miss you. We're on a boat. We're sending messages home to our sweethearts. From the toilet, the only private place on the boat.
Hi, Poppet. This is Happy Valentine's Day from me, from the middle of the romantic Coral Sea, or actually between the Coral Sea and the South China Sea.
It's our 2nd anniversary this year, and I'm really happy about that.
Hi, honey, David. This is the first time in 20 years that we've been away from each other on Valentine's Day.
So on this beautiful Valentine's Day, us, the single men of Sanya, wanted to wish a happy Valentine's. What?
I just wanted to wish you a very happy, beautiful Valentine's Day and look forward to seeing you in Sanya when we can do lots of fun things.
To all my single ladies out there, happy Valentine's Day, you beautiful things. Let 2018 be the year of love.
We're missing you, but the sun's shining. We're missing the dog. Can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks. Love you loads. See you soon.
Sweetheart, my heart is lighting up for you. Happy Valentine's from the South China Sea. Mwah.
Coming up, it's Chinese New Year, and the crews cook up a specialty dish as they race north towards the finish line. And the tropical paradise of Sanya provides a spectacular welcome. The teams competing in the Clipper Round the World Yacht Race have passed the exotic Solomon Islands and crossed the equator into the Northern Hemisphere, where they're racing towards China. This is a 4,000 nautical mile race over 3 weeks, and the weather conditions have proven challenging. They've experienced no wind and baking heat, to sudden squalls and torrential rain as the teams battle onwards. As the fleet approaches the Elliott Brown Ocean Sprint, Qingdao leads, followed by Sanya Serenity Coast. But any team can score bonus points if they are the fastest between the 2 lines of longitude. It's also Chinese New Year, a special day for both of the Chinese crews. On Sanya Serenity Coast, there are some traditional Chinese gifts. Onboard reporter Ming is preparing a special dish. Cooking at sea on a moving yacht, even with a gimbaled stove, is a challenge. He's planning to cook some delicate dumplings using his grandmother's recipe.
China is a big country. It's like a union. So we all speak Chinese. We from this very different background. And dumplings probably is the only thing can bring everybody together during the Chinese Spring Festival. If you visit any Chinese family during the Chinese New Year time, they will invite you to join them, because even you know nothing about making dumplings, you always can find your position and can help. You can stir the flour, you can chop the food, vegetable, you can wash it, and the people during the cooking, we just keep talking to each other, share the news and the memories of the year. So that's how dumplings bring us together. We stir the dough together with cold water without yeast and leave it there for 5 minutes. And use a special tool, which I don't have here, to make the skin. That's it, simple. I'm using this plastic roll to be what's the word? The stick, the round stick. But apparently it's not working very well. So the spirit is the same, no matter if it's minced dumplings or the Sanya dumpling. It's just making food for the friends and the family. When you arrive at Sanya, if you go to any restaurant, if they give you dumplings taste differently like mine, they did it wrong. Putting this in the hot water, give it a try. To be honest, I don't know what's happening in about 10 minutes. You add cold water 3 times. That's a special trick from my grandma. Looks like it. You won't know the test until people test it.
Yeah, I will.
Some volunteer already appear.
Shay. How's the taste? You like it?
I don't want to make it difficult.
Ming's dumpling was so good. Thank you, Ming. Ho stick. Go sai, share.
With the wind strengthening and the race entering its final few days, the crew of Qingdao are battling to hold on to their lead. But the very real danger of other shipping is beginning to become an issue, with more and more vessels appearing on the radar across the whole Clipper race fleet.
Qingdao is in first position. So we took the lead probably about halfway through the race, and we had a bigger lead at one point. We found a couple of wind holes, which meant that PSP and Sanya, who have been with us as the lead boats all the way through, have eaten into our lead, and now we are a mere 5 miles ahead of PSP. It's a really, really close race. We mustn't mess up. So we've just got to get it right. It's a sprint finish. We're 700 miles to go. We just have to give it absolutely everything we've got. Just got to sail our socks off, because we really, really want that podium position.
Skipper Chris is looking at his options with light winds ahead, and when to use stealth mode to hide their tactics from rivals for 24 hours on the race tracker, with PSB Logistics looking to be going faster and may overtake them. It's the final 2 days of this long race, and the leaders are close to each other, but the wind has disappeared for the Qingdao crew again, while those further back have a fresh breeze. The crew of PSP Logistics have sailed well though and overtaken them, but spirits remain high. Ahead lays the finish line and the tropical island of Sanya. Everyone is eager to see what this exotic new stop on the Clipper race has to offer. Shrouded in darkness, it is the crew of PSP Logistics who come through to win the Forever Tropical Paradise race, arriving in Sanya to a huge welcome after 23 days at sea.
The crew, they found it really tough, especially down below with the heat. I mean, upstairs was on deck was fine, but just downstairs, I mean, like there's no air moving around down there, and I think record temperature in the nav station was like 41 degrees centigrade and no wind or anything. It was horrible.
And second to finish is the crew of Qingdao, a great result despite being pipped at the post.
We led for quite a lot of the race, and then 4 days ago, when we thought we were only 2 days out, we sailed into a wind hole. Anyway, it's great to have a podium. Obviously, we'd have loved to have won, but we've got the next race to go for, so, you know, hey-ho.
Third across the line is the delighted crew of Dare to Lead, who will most likely leapfrog Qingdao's place due to time redress for going to the assistance of another team earlier in the race. And fourth into their home port is Sanya Serenity Coast, to enjoy a spectacular welcome. Quite an experience for the father and son duo on board.
It was a long race, and we are happy to be here.
Yeah, it was a great arrival. There were some fireworks when we came in, some firecrackers. Everyone was cheering. Had a really cool dance with all the dragons, and yeah, it was really nice to be on land. Had some coconuts, some fresh fruit finally. So cheerio.
Having all arrived safely into Sanya, everyone is ready for a break and are soon out exploring this tropical island in southern China. One of the main attractions is a visit to the nearby Nanshan Cultural Zone.
We've come over to the Nanshan Temple, and we've been to see the statue over there, and it was really good. Lots of Buddhist statues and symbols, and you can learn about the prayers they've got and their holy book and that sort of thing as you go around. It's not the sort of thing you get exposed to in Britain very much at all, so it's nice to come over to a country where this is a big thing for them.
There was a competition who hits the gong the hardest, and who is the hardest wins the next race. And then when you do these little prayers with speed cylinders, I think everybody was also praying to do well in the next legs.
And there are plenty of sensational stage shows, tropical beaches, and cultural experiences in what is regarded as China's Hawaii. Everyone gathers for the awards ceremony and a night of dazzling entertainment. One by one, all the podium-placed winners are honoured.
Third place for race 7, skipper Chris Kobush and the team from Qingdao. Second place goes to skipper Dale Smith and the team from Dare to Lead. Final presentation, first place goes to skipper Matt Mitchell and the team from PSP Logistics.
第一名，我们要恭喜 PSP 556号，恭喜你们！
After a wonderfully relaxing stopover, thoughts turn to preparations for the next race further up the Chinese coast. The weather will turn from the balmy warmth of Sanya to winter, and so the food required for the crews on the yachts needs to be packed with energy. Each crew has a viteller responsible for preparing the food plan, and on Liverpool 2018, it's navigator Claire Fulton.
We're at the Chinese supermarket. We're looking for
all the products that we normally have on the boat. We're optimistic we'll get what we need, but it will be a bit of a challenge. Fortunately, we have the very lovely Tina with us today to do the translating. Victualling is looking after all the food, the menus and the stores on board. So everything from the cleaning products through to the day-to-day menus, the squash, the milk, making sure everyone's fed, getting enough calories a day, and also the snacks on top of that. Meat is 2 kilos per meal. Doesn't matter what it is.
No, they just try to mix it.
No.
It's not mushrooms. It goes on the tray.
Okay.
It's on the tray, yeah.
The weirdest thing I've seen in the supermarket today is boiled chicken heads and poached fish eyes, which I'm sure are a delicacy. However, I'm not sure if the crew would like them on board. All the stuff that we have popped in the trolley today, we're going to take that through the checkout now, and they're delivering it down to the boat this afternoon. We will be then packing it away, turning on the freezers and making sure the boat's ready to go.
And there is the first ever in-port race enjoyed by all of the crews, despite light winds, which is a demonstration race for everyone to enjoy. With a race course staged close to shore, the 11 teams are in close company around the racetrack. With the racing neck and neck, the crew of Liverpool 2018 extend a precarious narrow lead and hold on to win the race. As the welcome stopover in Sanya comes to a close, it's time for the crews to resume the race and leave the delights of this tropical paradise behind after a hugely entertaining and successful first visit. The crews leave the dock one by one to head out for a parade of sail in salute to their hosts in Sanya. Race 8 is a relatively short 10 days north to the former Olympic coast, Qingdao. A long-term clipper race partner, the temperature will drop dramatically as they leave the tropics behind to compete for the sailing city Qingdao Cup. There are high expectations for the crew of Qingdao, who are targeting another podium position in what is their home port race. With a light wind racing start, the 70-foot yachts are close as they approach the start line after the 10-minute countdown. As the seconds tick down, they maneuver for the best position on the line. As they leave the shore, the wind begins to fill in and the yachts slowly gather speed. Soon the large spinnakers are raised and the crew work hard for positions on the racetrack. One of the last inshore marks is close to the Nanshan Temple. A fitting finale for the crew to say farewell to Sanya. Aboard the Liverpool 2018 yacht, the circumnavigators on the crew have bonded well since leaving their home port some 6 months earlier, and are now well used to integrating new sailors joining on each leg of the race. Skipper Lance is confident of a good race ahead.
It's quite lumpy at the moment. We've got about 35 to 40 knot gusts. We've got 3 down with seasickness, and a couple feeling queasy, but they're performing, they're still doing the jobs.
And the conditions are rough as they sail straight into the waves and wind, making life below decks challenging. Back to this unique life at 45 degrees once again. Coming up, we catch up with a Uruguayan adventurer transformed from novice sailor to team leader. And there are fishing fleet nightmares as the temperature plummets. And storms and fog engulf the teams on this continuing Asia-Pacific experience. After a long race from Australia, the clipper race has arrived in China and the tropical island of Sanya. It's been a fabulous inaugural visit, but the race resumes in challenging conditions as the fleet heads north and temperatures plummet. By day 4, with PSP Logistics leading, Lance and his crew on Liverpool 2018 have moved up into 3rd position. It's clear that making the right tactical decisions will be crucial in these testing conditions and crowded waters. As they race up past Taiwan, navigation is becoming an issue as the massive Chinese fishing fleet sprawls everywhere. A permanent lookout is needed to avoid collisions, as often the fishing boats have no radar footprint or even navigational lighting. Now into the Elliott Brown Ocean Sprint, with extra bonus points at stake for the fastest teams. The fishing boat threat is a major discussion point between the teams.
Hans, how's it going? Can you see the big spider web ahead of you? Yeah. I would say about 10% in, and there's hundreds of boats to come. Lots of course changes, but I think we're making it through, over.
Yeah, I think we're going to do the same, so wish us luck.
Yeah, same to you, good luck. I'll speak to you on the other end, over.
On Liverpool 2018, one of the crew from Uruguay joined for the first half of the race to Australia, but decided to complete the circumnavigation after enjoying the experience so much. He's been transformed from being a novice sailor to a watch leader now.
I made him a watch leader because he's got 100% enthusiasm. Everything he does, it seems, he puts 110% into it. When he's working on the foredeck, when he's been working in the pit, he puts every ounce of energy and enthusiasm into it. And it was really good to see.
It's going really good. I didn't break any spinnaker so far, so really happy. I've been learning a lot from a lot of people, also reading a lot of books, and now I feel really confident about it. So yeah, a lot. Claire is teaching me navigation skills, and from everybody you learn something. I think that's about life, to take the best of the people around you.
Come down on the wind, 120 please.
The main skill that I've learned so far, I think, is the helm and the trim. So now I really think I understand the game. I really like downwind a lot. It's like surfing, so for me it has a plus. But upwind sailing is really nice because you can balance the boat, you can balance the head sails with the mainsail, and then you don't even touch the helm and the boat goes straight in the line. I've been coaching the helm a lot, quite a few legs ago too, because I think it's the most important part of the boat. Not everybody can helm the same way, so you need to give them a proper condition for they can develop their skills, and then have a lot of patience. I just like them to do their best on the helm. Like, if you helm and breathe. You're not drinking coffee or chatting about your life. Just helm and breathe.
With the race entering its final few hundred miles to Qingdao, the temperatures continue to drop by the mile. Approaching the scoring gate after 8 days, PSP Logistics retain their lead, and most of the teams opt to stay on course and not deviate to the scoring gate. But Qingdao takes a gamble and heads for the gate. The temperature has dropped dramatically, and crews layer up in the freezing conditions with nutritious hot food essential. And thick fog is making visibility even more difficult with the ever-present fishing fleet menace. Aboard Qingdao, there is delight as the gamble pays off, with 3 bonus points for crossing the scoring gate first once again, keeping up their excellent record. Hopes are high for a solid finish too.
This is a race into our home port, Qingdao, so we'd really, really like to do well. Race start wasn't our best, bit down the fleet, but we did our usual Qingdao comeback, so we made it up to 3rd place by the beginning of the 2nd week, and we've now really fighting to get back in there with the leaders, but it's our really passionate hope that we do well.
The pressure is on as some teams find a breeze while others are in a wind hole. Liverpool 2018 is in the leading group, but just a few miles from the finish, there's a spinnaker disaster on Nano's watch. He and the crew deal with it quickly, but now they are a vital sail down. With no time to repair it, it could cost them a podium position. Ahead of them is the newly completed Wanda Yacht Club in Qingdao, where big celebrations are planned. After leading for 8 successive days, PSP Logistics sails into a wind hole near the finish line and can only watch as the crew of Visit Seattle steals victory from their grasp. The arrival ceremony in Qingdao has become legendary after 6 previous visits to this famous sailing city. host of the 2008 Olympic sailing event. The welcome is always massive and the crews are greeted by huge crowds. This is the first event at the new Wanda Yacht Club, and there's a big welcome ceremony for the crews as they take to the stage. Skipper Nicky Henderson receives a welcome hat, robe and staff in Chinese tradition and is clearly delighted with their second victory in this edition of the Clipper race.
We just kept on sailing until the end. We've learnt the hard way that it's not over till it's over, and I think we just kept our minds on the finish, and it worked out for us this time.
Second to finish is the Sanya Serenity Coast team after a hard-fought battle, a brilliant result.
It's a great race. It started getting cold in the last few days, so we all layered up, put the hats on, all the winter gear. So it was crazy actually how quickly it changed. Like within the span of 2 days, it just went from hot to cold. But the race was awesome. We had a great time. Sailing past Taiwan was really cool, seeing the island in the background in the fog. So we really enjoyed it.
And on board Liverpool 2018, there are cheers as they finish their race in the fog. But the result is in question due to the lack of wind that the PSP logistics crew is still experiencing.
Just crossed the finish line, it's freezing and very, very foggy. We can just about see the bow of the boat. We're in fourth position, we think, at the moment, and then there's about another 50 odd miles before the next boat. So we're in the back end of the lead pack, if you like, and only a couple of hours between us and the front boat. So I think we've done very, very well as a team. Very, very well.
Yeah! Awesome!
It was tough the last hour. This wind hole was tough. I didn't want to lose the drive, but we crossed the line, so I'm happy.
Some really bad news. PSP are still racing. The good news is we've got third.
Arriving into the marina, the crew are delighted to achieve their second podium position in the race so far. And they are certainly ready to join in the celebrations.
We were fourth, but well, one of the boats parked on a wind hole trying to get around. So a really nice surprise. This time the wind hole played in our favor. So really, really happy for that. Yeah, go to the podium.
Behind them is the Qingdao team, who secure fourth place. Not the result they wanted, but 9 valuable points towards their total.
We met at the inevitable wind hole or 3. Some of the weather was quite punchy. We had a bit of downwind sailing, but also it was exhilarating, very challenging. So it was very cold, very hot, incredibly hot. I just melted through the cracks of the floor. It served up everything, but I'm really glad I did it. It was there, it was a challenge. We all stepped up, we did it, and I'm very proud of us.
After time redress is applied for this race, the overall leaderboard still has Sanya Serenity Coast in first position overall after playing their joker to double their second place points into Qingdao. They are now 12 points clear, with Visit Seattle up into third place, with 5 races left to go. As expected with these experienced hosts, the awards ceremony in Qingdao provides a spectacular evening of celebration. The the teams are honoured on a night of dancing and entertainment, as the winners are invited to collect their pennants and trophies.
And visits Yacht.
The night closes on a high, with everyone enjoying the celebrations. Next time, the Clipper race takes on the mighty Pacific Ocean as the teams face their biggest challenge of the entire circumnavigation. Discover how they cope with epic conditions, hurricane-force winds, and mountainous seas, which batter the crews in the race of their lives.